This first lesson is about Agile, Lean and Scrum. At Gladwell, we normally start with the history of these things to get you a bit in touch with the why and the context of things. So I'm going back to the 1970s in which Toyota, a car factory in Japan, had a problem. They were trying to beat Ford at their game of manufacturing cars, and at the same time, they saw Ford was way bigger than them. It would be impossible to do the same things Ford did and at the same time beat them at it. So they figured they had to come up with something else, something new. And so they revolutionized the way manufacturing works with, as we now know, lean manufacturing. At that time, it was called the Toyota Production System. Now, the Toyota Production System is the foundational element on which lean has been built. And it is important to understand this, as it is basically foundational for the way we do software development and development in Scrum and Agile these days. The first thing is that they found that to build a system in a lean way, they figured they had to have three pillars on which they are going to put the foundation of their system. The first pillar was really the pillar of respect for people. They understood that without people being respected for their craftsmanship, being respected for their contribution, it would not work out well. So the respect for people was the first foundational pillar on which they built their system, which was later called the House of Lean. So the respect for people was one of the first things they understood. And this is put in the perspective of Japanese culture, meant as, I expect nothing but the best of you. I expect craftsmanship. And I expect you to grow into that as much as you can. So respect for people is really pillar one. Now pillar two was the actual middle pillar, which was called flow. And flow you may know as just-in-time or just-in-time delivery. And it's the idea of only building something or manufacturing something or do a step into the process when it's needed by the next station. So a pull-based, dragging things through based on demand rather than based on pushing, based on capacity, was a new way to ensure that the biggest problem of manufacturing would not occur, which is inventory. Inventory is the big problem in trying to resolve manufacturing problems. It's the biggest cost of all, having thousands of parts and cars everywhere lying around. So they figured that we only start producing a car when a customer requires it and buys it. Then we would have a lot less cars in production at any moment in time. So that means that if you have errors, you can go faster. You don't have to wait for things. We have less cost in moving things around and storing things. The cost of holding on to stuff then actually becomes lower. So that is flow. And flow is based on a demand-based, a pull-based use of your capacity. The third pillar on which they built the house that they were kind of shaping was the continuous improvement track. So this is the third pillar. Continuous improvement. Understood basically that whatever they come up with at the start of such an implementation of a new way of working, the House of Lean, they would get it wrong. And continuous improvement ensures that everybody starts to work toward what does work, what makes it faster, better, cheaper, higher quality, and all these other wonderful things that you will get. So in continuous improvement, flow, and respect for people are the three pillars on which the lean manufacturing system, the Toyota Production System, was founded. Now this was all done with a cause. And the cause, of course, was to only build value for the customer and nothing but it, nothing but value. So the value space is what they really build onto as a roof on their house to say, this is what we do it for. Everything that adds value, we do. Everything that doesn't, we try to eliminate. This is also what you see as eliminate waste sometimes as a very important factor in lean implementations. It's only a part of it, but it's an important part to think of. Anything we do, we have to do with customer value in our minds. This is all then carried by the supporting system, leadership and management. All kind of tools on leadership and management is at the bottom of this House of Lean, as you can see in the picture. Leadership and management is there for supporting rather than for pushing and directing the workforce and the company. So it's the idea of putting the organization chart almost upside down, as leadership is there to carry and support the people who do the work. This is the foundational element of lean, basically saying, I want to ensure that everything we do is about this value and that everything around it is organized to those who add value. So the teams who actually build the stuff are at the center of the organization, and all management, support, leadership systems and all these things around it are to support it, rather than on top of it to direct it. That's the foundational element of the House of Lean. So, this is in the 1970s. The problem was manufacturing and trying to cut cost on inventory. The resolution was to build a House of Lean with respect for people, flow and continuous improvements as the foundational elements, the pillars of it, carried by leadership and pointed towards the only thing you have to do as a company, which is to provide value to the customer.